This is the story of the spider and the brick. You see, back when I was sleeping, I didn't really know myself that much. You could say I wasn't so much living in my body. And so since I wasn't much living in my body, I wasn't so much living in my room. I wasn't so much living in my kitchen. I wasn't so much living in my house. And definitely, I was not so much living in my basement. But then, one day, I woke up. And all of a sudden, I started to become so much more aware of the environments in which I was living. I was aware of myself more, my room, my clothing, my hairstyle. Everything had a lot more awareness to it. And so one day, I decided to take it upon myself to brave the depths of the messy basement and maybe try to reorganize things and clean them. So I walked down the steps and I noticed right at the bottom there was this old gray brick that had just been left there. I can't really remember why it was there to begin with. It was just kind of there. So as I reached around and tried to pick it up, suddenly something moved. It was a spider. A giant spider. A spider with gold and black tiger stripes. Something I didn't even think could exist in the place that I lived, let alone in my basement. I mean, it wasn't really something we were collecting at all, but there it was. A couple other bugs crawled out at the same time, and I was scared about even trying to clean that basement. So I left. I went upstairs and just resolved to let the basement be what it was. And what was down there, I didn't want to disturb it, and it didn't want to be disturbed by me. But as I got to thinking about it, and as I sat there feeling my new awareness at everything, I began to think, maybe I could go and just try to organize the parts the spiders weren't in. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I could try to clean certain things that didn't have a lot in there to clean. You know, just do a little bit. Because this awareness, this feeling was so good. All I wanted to do was move around and really start to live in the spaces I was living in. So I bravely put on my gloves. I got my non-commercial cleaning product and walked down the stairs. I kind of kicked the brick a little to see if anything was left in it. And eventually, I picked it up and moved it. I took it outside and put it in the garden. Even if there were some spiders hiding around it, they'd probably find a better life out there. Since that point, I began to clean. And clean. And clean. Eventually, I organized the entire basement. Not necessarily the cleanest, but at least everything was in the place that made the most sense. Now when I think about the world, I think about that basement. I think about how there's parts in the world, just like how there's parts inside of all of ourselves that most of the time we just don't want to get into. We don't want to actually go exploring because we're too busy with our lives. We just have it as storage, or we just have it as things we're not really too sure about, but I'm sure it's taking care of itself. These are the places that things like conspiracies grow. Things like sicknesses, and in a sense, nefarious behaviors start to expand and grow. And I realize, just like the basement, until I had really woken up into myself, I really didn't have a reason to go exploring those darker places and see what was really out there growing, what was living in the places that I wasn't alive. This is my tale of empowerment. Just like the spider and the brick, those things only exist in the place that we're not living in. And little by little, as we start to wake up, we will begin to see scary things we didn't think could actually be living in our basements. And little by little, as we start to grow into ourselves, we will start to have a clearer understanding of what we can do to put things back in the right places and help those spiders into the garden where they too can find their own place.